Welcome, welcome. We are live. We are live. Just checking the levels, checking everything is sweet and sounding good. We are live.
Beautiful.
And I'm here with Donald Kent. He's not able to stream. He's in YouTube prison for tonight.
Yes.
He is a martyr for the night on his
Yes.
YouTube channel. But
Right.
so here we are on my channel, other end of the pond. Appreciate everyone tuning in,
Mhm.
Tricky Woo. And
Mhm.
so tonight is a very special episode, and it's a tribute to Sam, who is unjustly sent to prison and made an example of. And so we want to do a tribute to him and
Mhm.
everyone that supports him.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully
Yeah.
people chime in, and we're going to do an artwork dedicated to what's happened.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. It's. I would assume everyone in the. Well, let me first say hello. I'm Donald Kent. I'm in YouTube jail. Normally, Donald Kent Art on YouTube, so you can certainly go check out. I stream our shows there as well, so they're both here and there. But I do weekly streams, art streams. I have a lot of content that's very, very white positive. All related to our movement for sovereignty and freedom from the anti-white globalist order, etc., etc. But today is a very, very special and kind of somber day if we think about the sacrifice that our friend is doing. Sticking his neck out like this and knowing the risks that he's taking, and he's got a new baby on the way, and there's just so many things going on that our community is really kind of sharing the pain here and suffering with him and his wife, Laura, and it's just a crazy situation. The artwork that I've come up with here is a man bending the bars, pulling himself out of prison with the British flag behind him, and it says it's okay to be white on his shirt. I understand that he put stickers that simply said it's okay to be white. Something as innocuous as that, it
I
can
know,
put you
it's
in
crazy.
prison. So really, all white British people are in prison right now in that sense. That you can't stand up for yourself demographically. So this is the kind of the symbolism that I'm portraying here. But anyway, yeah, I just we're looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, and I've been thinking the past few days what I'm going to create, and I'm going to kind of enter into your comfort zone of doing a sort of a comic panel. I wanted to
Oh, wow.
really capture the sort of story moment, and I've kind of been thinking like just paraphrasing certain bits from
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
transpired. So moments
Right.
from within the courtroom, and the judge
Oh,
sentencing him, and the jury sort of standing there over him, and Sam's going to be
yeah.
central, kind of stood proud,
Mm-hmm.
really defending his rights, refusing to plead
Mm-hmm.
guilty. And
Right.
then there's going to be surrounding him almost like the ricochet of
Mm.
the ripple effect of even the normies kind of sort of with speech bubbles saying stickers, jailed for stickers, things like that.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
just the
Yeah.
general comments that have been sort of thrown about, and even getting the sort of the
Mm-hmm.
panel of GB News in. So I'm going to do a
Mm-hmm.
few sort of a comic panel compositions, and usually I don't always take mine to a sort of uh,
Mm-hmm.
a finished look like yours. You always tend to have a nice sort of yours always looks at least like 80-90% finished by the time we've finished the stream. But
I try. That's one of the hardest parts of this show is to try to get the work somewhat done, by the end of the
yeah,
show.
I know. I keep
Um,
saying I'm going to plan ahead more, but yeah, here we are. I think I need more than an hour's planning, like an hour and a half. But yeah, we
right.
also wanted to dedicate this stream to martyrs in general. I know we've labelled
Mm-hmm.
it Sam the Melia Martyr.
Yeah.
And a martyr isn't just someone who dies, obviously, it's someone who
Mm-hmm.
sacrifices,
Mm-hmm.
has sacrificed something and faced sort of persecution on behalf of their beliefs, and that's exactly what Sam has done.
Yeah.
He stood firm,
Yeah.
and you know, we respect him for that.
Right.
And although he's been made an example of, you know, he's been like they've like picked up a cactus, really, haven't they? And pricked themselves, because he has been made an example of, and an example of someone who's innocent, who has been treated really unfairly. So
Very
yeah,
much so.
we're going to talk through some cases as well of iconic people throughout history you probably haven't heard of, that have also suffered similar fates and persecution. So maybe Donald can read off some of them at some point. I'm going to try and get ahead on my artwork.
Definitely, I will. I wanted to also mention that across the pond here in the States, we've had some arrests as well. One, Thomas Rousseau, who runs the Patriot Front organization, he was let out. I believe he got out on bail, but he still has legal battles to fight. And then Rob Rundo, who runs what's called the Action Club. It is a men's club, a white nationalist men's club, and they have something called Media to Rise, Media number 2 Rise. You can look that up. I urge you to look it up, where they have really, really high quality media coverage of the various events that they do. They sell all kinds of fantastic gear, t-shirts, workout stuff, all that. They're very cool. I interviewed Rob some time ago, shortly before his arrest, and it's just plain and simple persecution. It's white persecution. This is what's happening. White persecution. The powers that be are closing the circle. They're scared. They are making moves. We're heading closer and closer to in Western Bolshevism, I would say. Like, when I say Western, I mean, you know, among our things are dystopian in Canada right now. They just created a new hate speech law in Canada that is absurd. It is literally insane. Some of the aspects of it show that literally all you have to do is claim that somebody is doing hate speech. There doesn't actually have to be proof of intent that they're going to do any kind of harm to anyone. It's I don't even know how to describe it, because it's so blatantly ridiculous. It's just so blatantly anti-white, and so basically our enemies are stepping up their game. We all kind of knew 2024 was going to be like this. It's going to probably increase in this way, and so that's something that we have to think ahead and think through. What are we going to do about these things? So these are, we're all feeling it. We're all in jail, you see, in some kind of way. And so, we have to come together even stronger as a family, as a community. Yeah. And doing artwork of this kind is really our way to, reach out and, kind of have a little family time, if you will, to look at this situation, this crisis that we're in, and do something positive about it. Anyway, these are the things that are going on right now, and I'll about to read a few things. Well, I really like how we've been adding more educational content to this show. I think that
I think it adds an added dimension to it, extra talking points as well. My program's really struggling to get the lines going. I think my RAM is loaded to the teeth, so my lines look odd. It's kind of, I can't draw so fluently, but anyway, I'll get through it. I just have to be hello.
Yeah, I'm streaming through the phone, and anytime someone calls me, my audio cuts off. So
okay.
Anyway, the spammers are working really, really hard. There's somebody in Pakistan right now trying to scam me from their office. They're just calling me several times a day, Anyway,
bet.
let's get into some content here. Hold on a moment. Oh,
Man, this is
wow.
so annoying, the RAM. What can I
Yeah,
do?
it's something we always have to work through. So I'll read a little bit about some topics on persecution, political persecution, martyrs. So just a moment. Shifting the focus to individuals who were staunch nationalists within European or closely related contexts, we examine figures who are remembered for their fervent support of their nation's sovereignty, identity, or independence, often in the face of foreign domination, political upheaval, or colonial rule. Nationalism, in this sense, can manifest as a deep commitment to one's nation or ethnic group, leading to significant sacrifices or martyrdom in pursuit of national unity, independence, or the preservation of national identity. So one example, we're going back to the 1400s here, Joan of Arc, retained from the original list of her embodiment of French nationalism during the 100 Years' War. Joan of Arc's efforts were pivotal in rallying the French nation against English occupation, and her martyrdom cemented her status as a symbol of French unity and patriotism. So that's quite powerful. Sir William Wallace in the
Yay.
1200s, 1270 to 1305. A Scottish knight who became one of the main leaders during the Wars of Scottish Independence. Wallace's defeat of the English army at the Battle of Stirling Bridge and his subsequent execution by the British made him a martyr for Scottish nationalism and independence. And also a great movie by Mel Gibson. Yeah. Shall I do another?
Yeah, can do. Do as many as you feel right.
Okay. This one is a little harder to pronounce because it's Greek. Theodoros Kolokotronis, 1770 to 1843. A key figure in the Greek War of Independence against Ottoman rule, Kolokotronis is celebrated as a national hero in Greece. His leadership and military prowess were instrumental in the struggle for Greek independence, embodying the spirit of Greek nationalism. Very good. So there's quite a lot here. I wanted to actually do a quick read of our friend Jody K. She posted a comment on her Telegram that, for starters, she's beloved in our community. Jody K is an absolute angel.
Yeah, I've met her before. Lovely girl.
And I've had her on my channel a couple times to feature her music and discuss spiritual matters and cultural, political matters. We just always have the most fabulous conversations. So if you want more Jody K, you can kind of scoot around my YouTube, Donald Kent Art, and check out those interviews. Okay, so she posted this. Here, first of all, this is interesting news. Apparently, Elon Musk has responded to the Samuel Melia arrest.
I saw that as well.
So that's like hot off the press here, apparently. So the clipping I'm seeing here at her Telegram, Samuel Melia, far-right activist jailed after sticker campaign. And then somebody beneath that in the comments said, "Let's see the stickers." And then Elon Musk replied after that, "Yeah, let the people make their own assessment." So that's I think when things like that happen, regardless of whether we know or not, if Elon is a bad actor, it still draws huge attention, and it's something worth kind of looking at it and noticing and sharing with others that this topic is out there. So let me respond to Jody's comment. Imagine being so outraged at Sam's sentencing and so angered at the state of this country, yet still supporting the people responsible. It's like having a field of chickens and a stranger keeps letting foxes run loose. Obviously, the foxes are a problem that needs sorting, but if you tackle the stranger that keeps letting the foxes in, problem solved. Surely? So she says, uh, just just heard from Sam, kind of. So this is important news. He is unable to call until Monday, as that's when he gets his pin. However, he has made friends with a person in jail who's sharing a cell with him, and they have contacted a relative on the outside who has contacted me. Apparently, Sam is okay. He is on a good wing, and he's making friends already. So that's at least somewhat, comforting to know that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that's an important message, to get across.
I think he's in a, like a grade C prison. So obviously, it's not, you're not going to get the worst dregs of society in there.
Okay, all right. I don't know how it works in the UK.
Yeah, they don't just put everyone together. It's graded, in certain ways. He was dressed smart, wasn't he? I think t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm not so sure it works like that in the States.
Really?
You could be thrown in with freaking mass murderers or whoever. You might not make it out. Even if because they put you in there and then they wait and decide and think.
Really?
Oh well, well you can get out on if you pay us a lot of money.
But bail.
Meantime, we're just gonna.
Yeah, I've always thought that's a funny concept, bail.
Bail. I mean, it just shows how criminal the government is. That it's just another mafia. That's all.
Yeah.
You pay us off and we'll let you out. Yeah.
For a time.
Yeah, that's justice. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes plenty of sense. So, I don't have very positive thoughts on governments in general. At least nowadays. I mean, maybe there was a time when I had more faith. But hard times. Hard time.
And I was gonna have people here. Want to get Laura in on this.
Oh my God, that'd be fabulous! Wow.
I kind of want to highlight the absolute injustice to Sam. Like, she's pregnant. They've got a little daughter.
It's crazy.
And about to have their second, and the judge is really choosing to send him to prison for stickers, and he's going to miss the birth of his child. I mean,
it's cruel.
That's sickening. It's absolutely sickening.
When I found out that she was going to have a baby, I thought, oh, surely they'll be lenient. How naive of me to think like that. That. It's sickening to me how our people are throwing our people under the bus in this way, and I just can't. I think it's one of the more important topics about how we sort of talk through how to reach our people, and it's an ongoing topic. I mean, this has been out there forever, but it's still relevant. It's still as relevant as ever to figure out how can we bring our people together against this kind of injustice. Of course, they're putting non-whites into positions of power. There's a lot of that in America. Like every single Democrat-run city is almost entirely run by non-whites, and they're some of the most criminal and incompetent people you could imagine. I mean, Chicago is grotesquely so. New York City, grotesquely so.
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say that. I mean, it's natural for example, people to want to vote for their own selective interests. We've established that. I don't know if you watched one of the interviews, or not an interview, but a slot on GB News, which highlighted this case, and they're kind of very middle of the road. I don't know if they're left wing, right wing, but well, they're definitely not left wing, but they're more centrist, I think.
Okay.
And you know, and they were basically talking about this case, and it was the guy that was obviously non-white that really was hell-bent against Sam and kind of chastising them for bringing this up. And he was saying, "Oh, I trust in the justice system. I trust in the justice system." Well, of course, because it's clearly favouring non-whites. Of course, he's going to trust in a justice system which favours non-whites. And it's and then there was the classic liberal guy as well that was piping up and condemning him for. And they throw the classic buzzwords around and always alluding to the Adolf Hitler poster and this and that. and you can see though how these two, the non-white, I don't know what race ethnicity he was, and this liberal, and they use these words Nazi and how you're defending this Nazi and this and that, and then you can see how it triggers the the host or the interviewer to instantly sort of demonize Sam's character without knowing him, and thinking that okay, I'm standing up for this as an act of injustice, but I'm still going to disavow Sam's character when he doesn't even know Sam, but it's just guilt through association. And you should see how the labels work, but
right, I'm aware of it. Yeah, I saw a very interesting video. I guess I don't know if it was a TikTok or an Instagram video, but somebody laid it out really, really powerfully. The question was, what is an NPC, non-player character? And we use that term to describe people that don't think, that are essentially kind of like zombies, so to speak, that whatever the media tells them to think, that's what they think, and they come out and use these talking points on and on. And then he created a sort of a map of critical thinking, and it was kind of like, if A doesn't match your values, then use critical thinking to take it to like the next two choices. So like, does science prove it to be correct? Yes. Okay, so change your values or change your understanding of a thing, but if you're an NPC, if it it doesn't fit your values, then here's the script of things you're supposed to say, such as, oh, I'm a victim, or Wikipedia or something Nazi like this list of just robotic expressions that they crap out of their mouths to give them a sense of power, identity, moral superiority, and it's childish, it's infantile, and above all, it's like stupid. It's like you have to be a very low IQ person to kind of adopt this way of being.
I think it's a mix, isn't it? It's a mix of low IQ and also inability to think outside of the status quo, and I mean, to be honest, some people are just heavily indoctrinated. I mean, I can remember there's times when I firmly believed I was right on something, and and I've turned out to be wrong. So sometimes when you're locked in perspective, and these people can't think out of it.
Right. My take on the whole thing is that it's egocentric, that it's all tied to one's identity, one's ego, that if and the ego is an extension of a community, that I'm a liberal, I'm progressive, I am XYZ, PDQ, whatever. And so therefore, these are my talking points, and this is who I am as a person. I identify as this kind of person. And therefore, and me being such a person means I'm not you. I'm not right-wing. I'm not a country bumpkin. I'm not a racist. I'm not ignorant, blah, 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 blah. All the kind of boxes that they put us in, that are historically skewed, that are completely, frankly, Marxist in nature. And so it's, I mean, I think we're well past the point of really trying to fix these people. There's, if we couldn't have done it by now, I don't know when, when that's ever going to happen, um, so it's troublesome to think of it in those terms.
It is, and it's hard to see where, but I mean the way in which in some ways, for at least for a night or a moment in time, it's like the right was united. Sam Melia, martyr, the man to unite the right, at least for a few days, and it was nice to see respect being shown, regardless of past disputes, beliefs. And I think because we're aware that being in a sort of dissident right position, that it involves everyone as well. It could have been them, because of their views, although there's slight differences, that they're still on the chopping block,
Yeah. So I was, just a little personal thing, I was in the city near where I live yesterday, and went to the park, and I feel like the city's dead, it's gone, it's lost. There was, I went to college near there, and years ago, and it literally was pretty much entirely white, and now the only white people you do see are overweight and covered in tattoos, and have all of the signifiers of I'm progressive, I'm liberal, I'm better than you, and they kind of walk around with their noses up in the air as if they're so special to have like all this multiculturalism. And there's so many Muslims around and so many Africans in this particular area, not as many Central Americans. But then I remember sitting down at a park bench, and then there's a big Jewish family right in front of me there. And my friend and I, we know everything. We know what's going on. We're completely on the same page. So I can't tell you how painful it was to feel totally. It literally was like being in a dream, or a kind of a bad movie, in a sense, where it's like, how can we ever return this? How can we ever fix this? It's a monolithic thought. It's one that haunts me, and so I'm sure our enemies would love to know that, but it's we're going through some changes. I don't know that we'll ever go back, but I think we have to envision a better future, like a future in places like in Europe. I mean, Europe is for Europeans, period. There's no, it's white nationalism. It's not ethnos nationalism. In America, we have a different history, Native Americans, et cetera, but I don't have any tolerance whatsoever for anyone who's there that's not from there is a guest, and that's it, period. That's my view on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, we're not obviously it's not the only time where nations like in Europe have been kind of flooded or overwhelmed.
Oh, sure.
And they managed to do it, and I think something will give way eventually. But we are living in a different age, aren't we? It's a whole different set of problems.
Right. The forces of history, I guess, are at play, and one way or another, for better or for worse, somehow things will pop at some point. Like the pressure's going to hit critical mass, and then something's going to happen. So a friend of mine was talking to me about this the other day, and saying like that's what they want. They want you to, revolt in a way in which they can round everybody up, and arrest everybody. And so it's always this kind of how do I say, like your back is against the wall, kind of, there's no escape. And I think ultimately it's going to require people to kind of take a military approach to our crisis and ask, what is the way? How are we? What's the way forward? There's always the questions of, what can be said publicly, and not, in these types of ways. But, that's what censorship is all about. I mean, he was just saying it's okay to be white, and he's in jail for that. Again, it's the most innocuous. What were there other stickers that I'm not aware of?
I mean, there was stuff to do with Muslim rape gangs and Zionism, obviously advocating for nationalism, things like that. And yeah, I mean, it is nothing that in the courts declared that wasn't untrue and wasn't unlawful. So they literally found him guilty on their perceived intent of him. I mean, to me, it's essentially an act of protest. Stickers like that.
Of course
you are protesting. What's the difference in having a billboard out and protesting your opinions, which people do? It's an act of protest.
Which the government, or rather the media, will not cover these views either, and they demonize these views. So there is no representation. It does beg the question, if I'm being arrested just for protesting to save my own existence and my heritage and my country, etc., then why? How do I put this? There's no sense in just using protest as a means to protest. That we have to do something much stronger, and have a far more powerful impact. It's just communicating.
I think community is massively important, and also, I mean, the way I see it is we are going into shield wall mode. Like the 300.
Yes.
We need to go into shield wall mode. We need to learn to depend on each other for survival. We cannot really start intermixing with the others in terms of, we can have I think we can have alliances along the way, but in terms of we need to remain we find kindred partners, for example, to procreate with. We can't be mixing anymore, not even we need to maintain our ethnic purity, and that's really important. And it's like a shield wall. We need to preserve and protect what we have left until there's. I mean, I believe that things will come crashing down at some point anyway, naturally, under its own weight, like Rome, and I think there'll be power vacuums at some point where we'll be able to gain ground politically, and things will change that way.
Presumably. I mean, I think that I would agree with you, frankly, just because it seems to be the natural way of things. We'll see how it plays out. I've often wondered, you can't, like, how can I say, like, if you do organize, you can't talk about it online. You can't, like, it's not it's not how it works. But I would say that any form of organization that is community building, like what you were talking about, is top priority. It's top priority. So, like, when, just for example, the death of Jeff Winston in the White Art Collective, everybody came together for Hyrith and her child, their child. So it was a very tragic event, but there was something like $24,000 that we got together from the fundraiser, and that's extraordinary. That is a testament to the fact that we are a community, even though we don't live down the block or whatever, down the street from each other or something. We are a community, and when when things hurt, when things go bad like this, we got to come together. I would suggest that we really need to think more and have more kind of written out plans. Like, okay, if this happens, what do we do? If that happens, what do we do? You know, and take it to the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
In
yeah,
terms of
written
like
down in.
if they're
I mean, there's, for example, the policies that Patriotic Alternative have. If
Mhm.
there was ever political power, I
Mm.
mean, repatriation, things like this, and
Mhm. Yes.
there's
Yes.
obviously ways of objectives, that we have. But I think it's also got to be an organic process because to be honest, we don't really know the future, and we'll have to kind of a lot of the time improvise as we go. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Our enemies have amazing technology and unlimited money, you know, so there's nothing like this in history. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take massive amount of creativity to figure out how we're going to fight this. I, for one, want to suggest people start looking more seriously into AI as a tool, a political tool for us. Um, that's all I'll say about that. Like I think that people have to start becoming creative. They have to start thinking. Look at say Europe in the 1930s and what was going on and how people were preparing. What were they preparing for? How were they doing it? What means did they have to look after themselves and their country? Um, when we go to different phases, we have different strategies, I guess. But I think you have to war room the situation. You have to think through if this happens, then how are we going to deal with it, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
not a military guy. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. I know people who are, but I don't personally have that kind of knowledge, and hence more reason to build community,
yeah. I think you can't go wrong with building community. I know there was a group that branched off at some point, Homeland, that have sort of become a political party, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure how
That's
effective that's going to be.
right.
And
I
I suspect personally that because of the nature of the split and the people involved, I think there's already they perceive a wedge to be in the right kind of right sphere, and I think they've enabled them to become a political party to reinforce that wedge at some point. It's like a step ahead. They're trying to look down the line, and I think they understand that the leaders as well are probably a lot more uh, corruptible than someone like Mark, who literally would not take
no
bribes and things like this.
no way. Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah.
so I think that's one of the reasons why they. But I don't want to put a black pill on that. They if they prove everyone wrong, then I hope they do, type thing.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
that's just a sneaking suspicion I have. Of
Mm.
course, if they're vouching for nationalist interests, I
Yeah.
kind of you can't not support that. Um,
Yeah.
but there is it is a sensitive uh, subject.
Yeah. My vote's for Mark. I think Mark should be the king. King of England, Mark Collette.
Yeah,
So that'd be great. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we're not really. It's funny because like all of us are really just people. We're just citizens. We don't have that sociopathic mind, the criminal mind, to think through. Oh, how can I undermine, a civilization, and how can I take over the politics and the economy and the media and da 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 da. You see what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
when you're a good person, you're a pure person. You don't think like that. And criminals. I mean, when I taught in the American school system, and I had to deal with kids that were bringing guns to school, like that kind of person. these kids are already criminals. They're dyed in the wool. Like it's baked right into them. I was
Really?
just babysitting. I was just babysitting them until they got out of school, if they made it through school, that is. And so I'm like, I've had a firsthand experience with these kinds of people, and 35% of the population at that school were Muslim. So, and including the teachers. So I have a much deeper, not that I have a very deep, but I have a more of an understanding of how those communities work and think, why they're here, what they think of themselves, what they think of us. And there's no, it's a complete scam. There's nothing whatsoever that is for us. It's they're here to rob us of our countries, and plain and simple. So, I don't know what else, how else to frame it. That's what it is.
Well, it's globalism, isn't it? And it's a
Right,
cult
right.
belief, and
like who let the fox in to begin with, right?
yeah, there's that, and there's an element of some people see the benefits of globalism and whatnot, and they don't see the problems with it. So it's
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's a state religion, and it's all the spokes of woke kind of together.
That's a good way to put it. A state religion.
Well, it is. I mean, it has to be if the police force, the NHS, are all kind of endorsing it. They have to reinforce this. It is a state religion.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just to use the term religion to describe this is kind of, it shows that it's such a cult. What a cult it really is. The cult of globalism.
Yeah. So let's have a look what the chat is saying. I can see here. Yeah, not too much going off. There's a number of comments. Has Jason said anything there? Laura is doing great on Alex Jones. Very articulate and relatable. Is Laura on Alex Jones' show at all?
I have no idea.
If she is, that would be an awesome watch. But I don't know why it would be said otherwise.
Wow. Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is a case because I think we've all been praying for Sam, and when things don't go your way, you're praying like, let this be a statement that to the left and the establishment that we have God on our side, we are in the right, and then it doesn't go our way. But then you think, well, God's ways are higher than ours, and the many stories whereby the silver lining comes through. There's a term in scripture which I like. It says all things work together for good for those that love the Lord, and I mean, in the long run, this is a blessing in disguise for us, and you can see that already through the ripple effect that it's having in society. And
things
people
like this
are starting to kind of wake up to the tyranny of the state now.
Right. So that's the meaning and the benefit of such events. I think this is, not that I could speak for God or anything, but I feel that it's through hardship that we grow, and that we learn and we evolve, and of course we become closer to God in these ways as well, possibly closer to each other, depending. But I think this is the right way to look at it. I think that it's an important way to. We have to always recognize that we're souls having a physical experience. We're only here for so long, and we have to do what's right and what's good in this earth and in our earthly bodies, knowing that it's temporary. So, and of course, leaving a better world for our children and the like. So that helps to give a broader perspective on our struggle. And I think it aligns us with God in our struggle. And these things are critical because we can't kind of, it's already hard. It's already painful. we don't need to make it worse, and we don't need to get sick from it as well, because there's a type of toxicity that we're all constantly dealing with, you know, and I think that that's quite unhealthy in and of itself. In a way, you don't succumb to the devil. You don't succumb to these things, because this is meant to crush our spirit. This is meant to cause, I call this terrorism. This is literally state terrorism.
Yeah,
when you
sure.
do things of this nature, you are terrorizing the community to say, shut up, don't stand up, don't protect yourselves, allow us to continue destroying your country, giving your country away to hostile foreigners. And, you know, you can always point the finger, and that's, you know, that's fine, I guess. But the point is that we have to do something about it. And if we're going to do anything about it, we kind of have to be of healthy mind and body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
sure.
It's just trying to keep our heads on straight while we're facing these challenges. It takes a lot of power and a lot of strength. So, and then we find that power and strength from each other, from our communities, from our culture. You know, that's what we're doing here today, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Solidarity.
Maybe I'll read a few more of the notes you had on martyrs. Okay. Hold on a second.
I've closed Telegram down to try and save some RAM. My lines are flowing a bit better now. I'll leave that reading to you, if that's okay.
All right. Well, if you don't mind my reading voice.
No, it's very fun. But you can try and do it in an English accent if you want. This is your time. This is your time to shine, Donald. Go on. Do a Cockney. Do a Cockney.
I would love that.
What, mate?
I don't really know if it's quite correct or not, but I'll try for best. You let me know. You can give me a good grade or not.
That is top dog, mate. Top dog.
Top dog, mate. Right. So I'm going to become a British citizen one day. I'm just going to walk. Well, I'll just walk over the border. Hey, right, I'm from England. You can tell by my accent, can't you? You know, just no. But anyway, I'm always afraid to make a fool of myself when I do.
You know, it's pretty good, to be honest. I don't think I'd be able to tell otherwise.
Gosh, that's cool. That's funny.
Yeah.
And I blame it on all the English movies, all the British movies that I've seen. You know, but like in America, we love that. We love that. Like I'm a massive, you know, I'm in love with the culture. You know, I'm 50% English, and I have that kind of, you know, need to come back to the motherland, and so I feel very invested in that. But Michael Collins, now there's a fine Irishman for you right there. You got Michael Collins. He was born in 1890, and he passed away, went to the heavenly gates in 1922. So, an Irish revolutionary, soldier, and politician who was a leading figure in the early 20th century Irish struggle for independence from Britain. Collins played a crucial role in the negotiations that led to the establishment of the Irish Free State, and was assassinated during the Irish Civil War. There'll be wigs on the green for that one, I'll tell you. Well, becoming a martyr for the cause of the Irish nationalism. So that's my Irish accent.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
I need work on my Scottish, though. That's the hardest one to do.
Scotland. Scottish.
Yeah, Scotland. You've got to have a black belt to be able to talk like that from Scotland. It's
from Scotland.
That's quite difficult to do. I don't know if I got it right, but anyway. So this next fella here is from, where is he from? Mexico. Emiliano Zapata, 1879 to 1919. I don't know if I can do a Mexican accent for you. Perhaps I could.
Is it Mexican?
No, that would be a little. Well, it says Mexican Revolution. He's Spanish, I suppose.
Oh, Spanish, yeah. Spanish. Okay. I'm sure these were typically European and kindred.
Naturally. So, although not Europe, Tabitha says, although not Europeans.
We can skip anyone that's not distinctly European.
Let's skip that one.
They might have slipped through the net as they tend to.
Okay, I'll just move forward. Bulgarian?
Yeah, that's European.
Okay. Stefan Stambalov, okay, 1854 to 1895. A Bulgarian politician and revolutionary, Stambalov is noted for his efforts in securing Bulgarian autonomy and independence from the Ottoman Empire, from Ottoman rule. His aggressive foreign policy and internal reforms aimed at strengthening the Bulgarian state and national identity, and his assassination. I think I'm reading this wrong. His aggressive foreign policy and internal reforms aimed at strengthening the Bulgarian state and national identity. His assassination made him a nationalist martyr in Bulgarian history. Wow. So it's the price one pays for being a nationalist. you know, and what are we always fighting too? I mean, I guess in the last 100 years it's mostly communism. But I'll read on a little bit here. Kevin Barry, a young Irish volunteer who was hanged by the British for his role in the Irish War of Independence. Barry became a symbol of the sacrifice made by young Irishmen for the cause of Irish nationalism and independence. So this brings up a thought here that every person who died in the cause, in the fight for freedom, nationalism, our ethno, if you will, these are human beings that died, in painful ways. They made the ultimate sacrifice for our countries. And so I don't think that people can wrap their head around this so much. It's sort of abstract to think that each one of us alive today is in some way responsible for them, that we have to uphold the honor of their deaths. We have to make their sacrifice meaningful. One of the biggest memes you see nowadays is these, the American soldiers getting off the boat in Normandy, and they're thinking about, my grandchildren will be transsexual and or intermixed or something, this and that. And, what am I dying for? What am I dying for? And we know, of course, that wars are bankers' wars, and, how our enemies use this to pit Europeans against Europeans, to depopulate us, cut off our family lines and all these things. So that we can see this in different perspectives, but I think ultimately we do have to kind of take on some responsibility towards honoring these martyrs. That's what I would say. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, of course, we are the ancestors of those people that fought to survive. I mean, many people say it. And you've seen photos of the old veterans that have kind of got their new liberal families, liberal daughters, that they let kind of go the way of the world, forsook their kind of state religion and faiths, and just went off and let liberalism run rampant. And and as a result, they've not cherished the natural values that they fought to protect in the first place. I mean, people will say, at least we're not speaking German. But,
sure.
I'd gladly speak German. Not speaking German, but I tell you, there's a multitude of lots of different languages that are being spoken, and it's not, our children that are predominantly filling the land as a sort of inheritance, as a birthright to, which is a nation is everyone's birthright. I mean, obviously nations get conquered along the way, but generally speaking, until a land is truly conquered, which we have to, accept that has been part of history, world history. But until it's been conquered, we have every right to fight to preserve that which we love, and to resist that change.
100%.
It can't be a two-pronged kind of stance. You can't in one breath condemn sort of America, the Europeans heading over to America and colonizing it and thinking the Native Americans were hard done by, and then not expecting the same fight from the native indigenous British or
of course.
Irish, or and even as an Englishman, I can say that we obviously fought many wars with neighbors like Scotland and the Irish, and they still like bear a grudge for it. And I guess we, our ancestors were pretty harsh and brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
So it's a historic context that we need to kind of reevaluate for where we are now. And I think that in the light of the fact that we could lose our nations, our heritage, our cultures, everything, this is something that it's critical to put a focus back on history and connect to history and see how we are in history now. And so it's quite painful in many ways to have to face this, but at the same time we can draw strength from the past. That's in a way what we need to know history, so we can look at these people that made these sacrifices and see that their spirits are so strong. They're so strong, and that we kind of have to borrow that strength somehow. We have to find that strength within us, and be ready to do what we have to do, I think, to move forward. It's scary. It's very scary, and it's not fun, and nobody really wants this. We want to just have peaceful, happy lives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no hope of any peaceful, happy life with these the kind of future that's bearing down on us, right? So there's no choice, you see. And that's why I think that taking the heroic mindset is the way. It's the way that to see this kind of like a sort of Viking in a sense, or maybe I should use the Crusader mentality or something, that this is a higher cause that we're fighting for, and with that we tap into higher power. So it's because it's only a higher power that really is going to give us the strength to get through this and for victory. Yeah. And so
and I think it takes that as well, the higher power to keep us gelled together, rather than just disappearing and becoming amalgamated into this just melting pot gene pool. And like we said before in many podcasts, we both believe that the culture comes from within a people, and it's not just preserving the genes, but to preserve the culture and that spirit that we've contributed as Europeans to the world.
Of course.
It's just an absolute travesty for that to all kind of not be cherished by our own people, but would just completely be okay with that dissolution, that dissolvement into.
And of course, a lot of that has to do with the fact that everybody is just trying to survive. We're made to live in a society where we can never get ahead. We're wage slaves. We're tax slaves, and this is wrong. And it's not, that's not a mistake that we're living like this. So like an economic revolution is just as viable, or rather just as important as a kind of racial revolution. You know what I'm saying? We can't continue living like this. We have to, I could go on and on pontificating about these things, but while you were talking, I was thinking about an experience I had last summer. I spar with some friends in the park. That was the same park I was talking about earlier, covered with foreigners, etc. And one of the guys I spar with, he's kind of a hipster, sort of liberal-ish guy that
I think you mentioned,
Oh yeah. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but somehow or other the conversation came up where nationalism was the theme, and like he very in a really strong kind of knee-jerk reaction, he blurted out, I'm totally against nationalism. I'm not for nationalism at all. And in a heartbeat, I turned to him and I said, "But isn't the nation the people?"
Exactly.
So I didn't like give him a minute to. I didn't back off. I just like very instinctively and very naturally presented that thought to him, you know. And I did it in a way that I think would not be threatening to him on the one hand, but on the second hand, to make him think through who are the people. You know what I mean? And it's us. It's not them. You know what I mean? Like this
Well,
isn't.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like I said before, you know, people will gravitate to an observation is what I've noticed. People generally want to project into the world an image of themselves. You know,
Sure.
so whether it's a certain ideology, you know, such as LGBTQ, whether it's you know, people of an ethnicity or so on, of course they naturally they want to see more of their own kind in a nation, and not be so you know, lopsided or kind of dominated, so to say, from the, you know, from the white. So they're kind of happy that it's kind of balancing out, and you know, globalists would be as well. So you know, it's not that you blame people for having them desires, because you know, we want that for ourselves, but you have to be fair in saying, well, this is our homeland. It's like, you know, you can't advocate for nationalism on a case by case, on a sort of you know, it needs to be an equal sort of it needs to be consistent. Like, you can't kind of wave the Ukraine flag and say that they have a sovereign nation and right to that land, and not expect, you know, us to
See, that
follow the
my
same.
neighbor has a you know, I support Ukraine flag, and I'm not against Ukraine, obviously, you know, but it's just the bitter irony of like, well, how about supporting your own damn country? You know, like where's your nationalism for us? Why do we always have to root for the other guy? Like that disgusts me, you know. Where's the mentality? Now, he's in America, of course, we have different ethnicities, and he's probably Ukrainian in ethnicity. I'm assuming so, you know, which is fine or whatever. But and he can express whatever he wants. But it just, you know, it just makes you think, like, what about American nationalism? You know, and that, of course, is a kind of that's a like a on the white nationalist spectrum, if you want to look at it. The things like the word white nationalist is so demonized.
It sounds like such a dirty word, doesn't it?
It really does. It sounds evil. Like I have like a bad reaction when I use that word. I feel like, ouch, you know, that doesn't set right. And I mean, obviously it's because that's the programming, that's the propaganda, you know. But if you to look at it more like sort of academically and just read it for literally what it is, then countries that are indigenously white, meaning Europe, then you have 1,000,000,000% correct right to be white nationalist. Like just the way that, say, you know, China has the right to be a Chinese nationalist, or Japan has the right, blah, 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 blah. All the analogies. It's like only whites are not allowed to have any kind of white pride or any, you know.
Yeah, you notice a theme, don't you, in things, and it kind of, a lot of it boils down to 2 + 2 = 5 type mentality. It's an absolute distortion of the truth, and it's almost getting people to turn a blind eye to the truth. And by doing that, they're kind of taking part in the lie, and it's almost like renders them guilty as well. You know, when you hide something, or just go along with something, you become part of it, part of that lie. And by nature, you don't want to. Most people, anyway, don't want to acknowledge or admit they were wrong. They would sooner continue to believe a lie that protects their ego, or
Sure.
makes it easier to
That's always an issue, like we were talking about earlier. Um, it's troublesome, it's troublesome. But
Yeah. So Max says, "Nice stream, thank you, Max." And Donald's got a nice, relaxing voice. Yes, Donald.
even when I'm doing an English accent.
Even when, yeah, it's pretty good.
Cool.
Cool. Who else? Any other comments we've got going on? Yeah, I want to find out if Laura was on Alex Jones' show. That would be really good to see, and the level of exposure that would bring to this. Again,
right.
what we were saying earlier is this sort of act of martyrdom and sacrifice. I think Laura and Sam are going to come out stronger for this. I really do. I think Sam's going to come out refreshed. Yeah. I think the generous donations that everyone have is helping to set Laura and Sam up as well.
It's funny, like it has the opposite effect of what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they put you in jail for a while, you become a symbol of the movement, and then the people, free Rob Rundo or free Thomas Rousseau. These things rally us together, and it's funny how that works. I mean, you can't hold down the human spirit, like our. Anyway, yeah, I'm just hoping to see how that evolves,
Yeah. I was watching a video the other day, just flicking through BitChute, and there was an interview with what's his name? Who's that
I'll never
guy?
forget what's his name.
What's his name? What is it? You know his name?
I'll never forget what's his name.
Donald, you know his name?
Oh yeah, the old what's his name? Yeah, I went to high school with him.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's his name. How did you not know his name?
I know. I'm ashamed of myself. I apologize. I failed you.
But there was a guest he had on, a guy called Brother Nathaniel. I know he's a Jew, but he's quite funny, and obviously he's Christian.
He's like an Orthodox priest now as well. Right?
Yeah, I think so. So I mean, I don't know what to make of him other than I find him quite entertaining, and he seems to think that Alex Jones is a sort of playing sort of 4D chess, good cop, bad cop type thing.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Totally.
So. He will have these people on the show to give them a voice to state certain things, but at the same time shoot them down for their opinions. But they're still given a platform to listen to. So he could be doing some real kind of 4D chess trickery, which I wouldn't put it past him. He's been in the game a long time. And how can you not sort of come to certain conclusions?
Right. I have my thoughts on that. I think that Alex Jones has cucked, as they say, to the Jews. It turns out that I believe that his first wife is Jewish, and therefore you could see how he's invested in that with his children, and that creates a certain bias that totally goes against his mission. He's got to be the most vociferous person out there on like educating everybody on globalism, and he's done great work. And I've even though he's goofy and he's kind of like a shock jock and all of that stuff, you have to recognize what he's accomplished. He really has done a lot, and he used to be sort of this kind of wackadoo, and now his ideas are mainstream. Not his ideas, but like the things that he talks about are mainstream. So I respect him for what he's done, what he's accomplished. At the same time, when we all know what's at the end of the rainbow, we all know who's really behind everything. And if you can't say that, then you are now protecting the very people who are destroying our countries and behind the vaccine and global depopulation and LGBT and on and on and on and on and on, so if you can't name them, then you're helping them. Let's just put it that way. That's how I see it. And so I think he has found himself, he's in some kind of a terrible crossroads where he has a conflict between his career and his mission and this protect the Jews bullshit, basically. So how is he gonna like?
I think he might still have. I think he has funding, doesn't he? I think he's maybe funded in that.
I don't honestly know that, so I won't comment on it. But obviously, if you're being funded, you're part of the problem. That's Conservative Incorporated. And on that topic, so you've got Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. She works, for Ben Shapiro's channel. That is literally Conservative Incorporated. And her being a Black woman in America, she gets a free pass. She can say things that other people can't say. She's beyond reproach. She's beyond reproach. So just like the Jews are. But now she's calling out the Jews. She's saying, hey, what were those books the Nazis were burning? Let's take a look, folks. No, don't do that. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. So I don't know how long she's going to last. Like, she's extremely vocal about being against Israel's genocide of Palestinian people. And that goes against, Lord Ben Shapiro, Rabbi Shapiro. But we'll see how it goes. But the good thing of it is that, it's pointing out to the public, that these narratives are getting mainstreamed is essentially what I guess I'm saying here.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
Every little step forward is good for us,
Yeah, I agree. So, let's just talk through some artwork. I'm quite happy with this composition, to be honest. You can't see on my screen, I don't think, but
unfortunately I can't. No.
I'll just talk it through, and then maybe you can go through and talk about yours. Okay. For anyone that's just watching, I wanted to create a sort of a comic book panel to really take a snapshot of the events that have transpired from the case of being kind of condemned, made guilty. You've got this kind of evil. I say evil jury. I'm just. They're being described as menacing and angry towards Sam, and the judge is above him. He's being kind of these hands, hidden hands, or kind of he's like a puppeteer judge that's controlling him to sentence Sam, and he's going to be saying something like, "I will make an example of you." Then we've got in the main frame Sam. Staring out of the prison cell, thinking about his wife and newborn child at home. The child's asking where daddy is, just get the heartstrings going. There's a letter on the desk, and then at the bottom there you've got the sort of the reactionary panels where you've got the sort of like GB News talking about the what happened. You've got people in the pub, just random normies and so on, and just showing how this event has triggered something in society. So I firmly believe that this act of martyrdom and not cooking and not pleading guilty and maintaining innocence is it's done some good for
it's heroic is what it is. It's heroic. Exactly. It's profound, and I think everybody who sees this, especially in England, they have to ask themselves, like, could I do that? Could I go through this? I mean, especially with a baby on the way. And I mean, do I have the courage to be like him? You know what I'm saying? And will I ever have to choose? Will I ever come to a point where I have to be in this position where I could go to jail or, suffer losing my country or, or who knows what else, So it's disturbing. We're going through it, guys. We're in it. Like it's happening in real time. So I'm sorry. I just want to say I love your approach to this, even though I can't see the art right now. the way you've described it. You know, everybody knows I'm a comic book illustrator, so I'm a big
Yeah, it took
fan
me a
of the.
while to warm up my art, and at the beginning the RAM was overloaded, but it's settled in now, and
Okay.
managed to get my lines going. So yeah, I think I'm going to settle for this as an idea. I might start
Okay.
blocking in a little bit of color, and then what I normally do is, for people watching, I continue this work in my own time,
Sure.
and then do a fast time lapse of the artwork from
Oh,
start
cool.
to finish, sped up, and I'll
Very
put out
cool.
the final artwork. But do you want to talk through yours a little bit?
Yes. So, you know, when I got the message that this was the theme for today, I'll start off by saying that kind of my heart shook a little bit. You know, I've been following this case. I know what's going on. I'm very obviously deeply connected with the community, but yeah, I'm like, of course we have to do this. We have to do this theme. This is the theme right now. You know, so I'm really, really glad we're doing this. But then I thought through, you know, put yourself in his shoes. Like, imagine sitting in the cell right now in like a, you know, whatever, a prison uniform or like, and you know, trying to think through the whole picture of all the levels from personal to political, like worrying about his wife, his child, thinking about the child to come, and the personal suffering that he must be enduring right now because of that.
Yeah.
And you know, that is hard. That's some heavy stuff, guys. That's very heavy. And so, but then looking at the bigger picture of, I'm making a statement that needs to be made because I like my entire country and my people, and even in a broader sense, my whole race is at stake. And this is literally the kind of heroism that we need. Now, I'm not sort of an advocate of martyrdom per se as the method, you know, but like there's times when that's the only choice. And martyr literally are people who die. So he hasn't died, and thank God he hasn't. And when, you know, that's whole
Yeah, I
other
think
level.
that's typically, but you can be regarded as someone who has been persecuted. I don't think it's exclusive to death.
Yeah. I'm totally fine with the analogy. It makes sense, but I'm just sort of, you know, letting my thoughts flow at the moment here, and I haven't organized an answer. So I'm just musing on all of these things, just thinking through, like, you know, this guy is going through this stuff, and how am I going to express it in my art? You know, that's almost, it's colossal. It's very strong. I've done stickers. I've spent money and printed up stickers and gone all over the place doing stickers. And they're mostly just simple things like it's okay to be white. There's nothing racially.
I think that was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I had read about this case, and that was what I read. So I don't know all of the details of the case. That was the only one that I was aware of. And this, just like how it's, I can't stand the reality that we're living in which you cannot say that. To me, that's madness, and it puts a hot spotlight on the fact that we're living in white genocide, that we are the ones who are experiencing racial discrimination, not other people. They're experiencing racial benefits, you know, like, oh, I'm of a different race, I get all the benefits, you know, and that's a whole other discussion. So to me, it's a time of strength. It's a time to call on our strength and to bend the bars of the prison that we're in, and to be free again, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, economically, in every freaking way that we can be. Pull those bars open and get out of the mental, you know, slavery that we're living under. So I had to contextualize it with the Union Jack, and you know, it's obviously you know, we're talking about this particular case. I did as I was doing this, I suddenly realized that, like, I made this guy bald, and that's because he's bald. And I thought, well, now he looks like a skinhead. Okay, I'm gonna put some hair on him because I want to kind of disassociate a little bit from that kind of cartoon Nazi stuff that just feeds into the narrative that they use against us. So I gave him a little haircut there. And I feel this can definitely be worked on a lot more. I want to have more sophisticated shading and lighting in this, but this is just kind of the basic concept and laid out. So I guess that's about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it looks it's definitely empowering.
Yeah.
You know?
The fact that the flag is behind him, meaning that's also imprisoned, is one of the more, that's sort of the bigger statement that I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The whole of the UK and all of my British and English and Scottish and Irish brothers and sisters, because I'm ethnically of your family. And so I this hurts me as much as it hurts you, you know, so I have to connect in that way, and we have to free our countries. We have to be free.
Yep,
we must.
We do.
Because it's okay to be white. You know?
Yeah, it definitely is. So. Yeah, no, it's good. You always do a good drop.
I think there's maybe a few more things to read off here on that list. So maybe we'll wrap that up here. Take a peek here. Andreas Hofer, a Trollian patriot and leader of the rebellion against Napoleon's forces. Hofer's resistance to Bavaria and French control over the Tyrol region and his execution by French soldiers made him a martyr and a symbol of Tyrolean and broader Austrian nationalism. I didn't know what Tyrolean is. It's part of Austria. So he's an Austrian nationalist, Andreas Hofer, 1767 to 1810. And then we have a Bosnian Serb, Gavrilo Princip, 1894 to 1918. Bosnian Serb nationalist who assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, leading to the outbreak of war. I don't know, actually, that's not our guy, now that I think about it. I think he was like a...
I had to be careful because these were kind of screened, but I had to take some out because, you know, as a natural bias.
And I don't think he was actually on the right side.
Is he not our guy? No,
he's not our guy at all.
He's not our guy. Okay, good.
I mean, I didn't know his name. I know the case in history, but like I didn't know the guy's name. So that's a darker situation there. So but the final statement here, nationalist figures exemplify the diverse ways in which nationalism has influenced individuals to take actions that in their time and context were seen as the ultimate sacrifice for the nation or national identity. Their legacies continue to evoke strong emotions and debate regarding the nature of nationalism and the price of independence or unity. So that's an ongoing discussion, isn't it? You know, I would certainly say that like communism is the opposite of nationalism. Globalism is the opposite of nationalism. You know, when I was speaking with my cousin recently, who was just starting to kind of take the red pill, and she was sort of liking some of my posts and things, but she's completely new. She's like a baby, you know, like knows nothing about anything. So I tried to give her just a crash course in, you know, I said, I'm a nationalist. And she says, what's a nationalist? I'm like, oh God, you know. And I'm like, well, in the current situation, it's globalism versus nationalism. Globalism is technically it's the modern version of communism, but it's a kind of technocracy where all of these fourth and fifth generation warfare systems are being used. You know, we're not in a kind of war where you're shooting bullets. Now you're, you know, flooding countries with migrants. You're creating diseases and vaccines that kill people. You're, you know, rigging the economic system. You're rigging the election system. You know, you're infiltrating the universities. You're putting homosexuality into cartoons for children. This is disgusting, you know, and it's all about depopulation. It's all about control. And then the most darkest, farther end of it is that it's about merging man with machine through transhumanism. Neuralink, our buddy,
Mhm.
our friend, our guy, Elon Musk, who is so, oh yeah, you know, he bought Twitter and free speech and this and that. Well, this is the man that invented Neuralink. How can he be our guy? You know, he's got Starlink with all his own satellites around. What's his relationship to Israel? What's going on? You know, so I just don't, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know. All I can say is like it's the easiest thing, the most likely case to see for the future in the next 50 years is the world literally splitting into two, where you have, you know, that type of superpower versus Mad Max, you know, people living in who knows what kind of bunkers and this and that. And can it be, honestly, I I'm not advocating for this, but I cannot see a way around war and revolution at this point. And that's not because I want it, but because they're pushing us towards the cliff
They are.
already.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. So I
you've
don't, at some point, I just can't see how we can't do that. That we can't somehow, you understand what I'm saying? Like logically, nobody wants that. You know, nobody wants that. You know, we
no one
want
wants
peace.
that.
You know, we love peace. You know,
Yeah.
but like, at what point do you draw the line? You see what I'm saying? And the line keeps moving and moving and moving, and the circle is closing and closing. So, you know, that's kind of, without getting fed posty, I think that's as much as I can say.
Yeah. No. They do seem to be escalating things towards that, like you say. Nothing that we advocate for or want, but it's being pushed on us.
Right.
And the reason why is to it's trying to bring order through chaos, isn't it? It's trying
part
to.
Of it. Yeah.
Well,
that
yeah,
is
I think
definitely part of it.
to break down the society in a way through chaos and lawlessness, and I believe that it will, you know, people will be. Well, have you read Albert Pike? I know he's kind of the conspiratorial sort of the
We're
letter.
not talking about the guy who created.
He
He's a
was a 33-degree Mason.
Freemason. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, it's kind of you know, very suspicious. Not suspicious. What's the word? What he outlined seems to be coming to pass, and you could say, oh, that was written after World War One or two. You know, I don't know this conspiracy, but even to this day, things seem to be falling out and kind of going towards that route. And you can see that people, in the end, like World War Three, is people fighting in the streets to the point of absolute exhaustion. And even in the Bible, it talks about nation rising against nation, but nation, really, the word is ethnos. So ethnos is kind of, you know, race will rise against race. It's that kind of all out war in the last sort of, and I think you know, we are in a system, a beast-like system, which is manifesting itself, but I think it will collapse under its own weight. So you know, I think that will be the opportunity. So for now, it's shield wall and hunker down.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's a lot to digest. But this is, again, that brings us back to the notion of community building, you know, and thinking through what can we all do in our own way. Like, you know, I talk a lot with friends about, you know, what are we going to do? You know, like how are we gonna weather the storm? How are we going to get through this? And, you know, these are just my local friends that, you know, we can share resources. We can help each other out with, you know, whatever the situations are. But the system itself is against us. You know, I mean, you look up in the sky and you see chemtrails all day, every day. And that's just spraying cancer on us. You
Is
see
that
what
what
I'm
you think it
saying?
is?
Oh God, I mean that's among other things. It's about geoengineering, terraforming. There's a lot of very nefarious agendas at work there.
Mm.
That's certainly one of them. Um, how do you hide from the sky? You know what I'm saying? Like it's that's why I'm just saying, like, there's really no way around that. It's not going to stop until we stop them. And I don't know how we do that. Like, I don't have the resources or the understanding of how to do that, but I can see at least that is what's going to need to happen at some point. How far can we go? They're not going to stop. They'll go all the way to the end.
Yeah.
So what will we do? What will we do?
Well, I think it's about timing, isn't it? I think there's a tipping point where, in fact, you know about this. In fact, it's a concept which I pulled from a mixed martial artist called Lyoto Machida. He was one of my favorite artists. He was a karate style. But one of the things he says is when you in combat, there's a moment of attack where the opponent is defenseless.
Yeah.
And I think as things transpire, and I think we're being weaned slowly onto a new system, and they're trying to do it gradually, but there is a tipping point where there will be a point of absolute freedom, or a moment of where they have to lose the control in order to switch completely. And I think it's in that point and that moment, that point in time, which is probably a small moment, like a brief moment in time.
I get it.
But it will be a moment that there will be an opportunity to claim freedom, whatever shape or form that takes. I don't know, but just based on that principle of, attack and transition, there is a moment where the system will be defenseless. And
that's a good. I'm gonna contemplate that more. One of my close friends. Well, I've got a lot of close friends. Anyway, that like they have military training, and they've studied even the history of war, and there's like names for all the stuff that we're going through. Like, we're now in the X phase. I don't know these military terms, but they do. And they're saying, yeah, they're now instituting blah 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 blah, whatever the thing is, And so, like, it's very, if you know the military terms, you can see clearly what phase we're in, and what is being doled out upon us, So knowing that, though, I think we can perhaps play a game of chess here if we have knowledge and we're clever. And we're working somehow or other to, counter this situation. That could be the thing. But I always feel as if, like, you're not going to use the system to fix the system. I can't really see that working. If somehow or other there's a I don't know, a mistake, a glitch, some unexpected, unforeseen thing that changes, and puts us on the upper leg or whatever, gives us leverage, then maybe we can still use the system in place. But that would require a lot of rope to hang all the traitors. And so I don't know. That could be pretty expensive, buying all that rope, I guess. But because there needs to be arrests. You see what I'm saying? There need to be arrests. This is
like Nuremberg trials type thing.
Well, that's funny. You should say that, because, like, that was a scam. That was just.
Well, how it's perceived in public. I've not really looked into the history of that, but I'm sure that there was a lot of evidence that was likely fabricated in order to gain a particular.
When
outcome.
you do look in, right. Not only that, what's interesting is that there was something like 300,000 Germans, and including top officers, just vanished off the face of the earth. They're completely unaccounted for. And I know where I know where I believe they are or went to, but that's going down a rabbit hole, to say the least.
I think I've seen a video on something similar to like that with Robert Sapper recently, which is
Yeah, that was
interesting.
shocking. That was a game changer. That was a game
That was
changer.
actually very interesting. I found that very interesting. I mean, I take things with a pinch of salt, but I
Yeah,
find a
that's
lot of
fine.
these things both intellectually stimulating, but
Yes,
also
yes.
entertaining at the same time. Like it could be fiction, it could be sort of fact in
Mm.
some way, shape, or form. Who knows?
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
sometimes it's fun to just pontificate, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm exactly the same way. I take everything with a pinch of salt, and how I approach these things is like a detective or a lawyer. I figure if I had to convince people in a court of law, then what I have to do is take them beyond like beyond doubt. Like that means that they don't have all the information, but they don't have any doubt that this is true. You know, that there's enough information that corroborates, that they can connect the dots enough to say that this is most likely true. If I had to bet money on this, it's like, you know, it's 80% probably true. So I'm going to say yes. You know, it's a good bet kind of thing, you know. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I've been researching this stuff for 18 years. So like I
Really?
just
Wow.
have a very vast pool of information in my head about these things. And so I'm able to, you know, click, you know, connect the dots and say this corroborates, that doesn't. Who's behind this? Who's saying this? What's their background? What's their agenda? Da 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 da. So,
Hmm.
and interesting stuff.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
put it vague, I'm being vague.
Interesting indeed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so Alex, sorry, Laura must have gone on the Alex Jones show, so I look forward to checking that out
Okay.
tomorrow,
Oh, that's
hopefully.
fantastic. It'll be
Um,
airing tomorrow.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
there's a Tricky Woo made a comment. I'm wondering if using reverse psychology propaganda would work. It worked
Yeah.
against. Let's see the whole thing. It worked against us. Plus, it's not a crime.
Yes, interesting.
Perhaps.
So that opens up an interesting can of worms. Misinformation campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
That I actually just saw something about that recently online, and it's essentially espionage. You know what I'm saying? It's a kind of espionage. So the question is, how much does the public perception affect political change? People in power are not going to give up their power. You see what I'm saying? I mean, maybe, or at what point can we take them down, or like get them out of power, positions of power? Well,
Yeah.
you know, if there's enough public perception that, say, you know, imprisoning our guy here for stickers is a like that's wrong, and that the people who put him in jail should be put into jail for doing that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What would it take to get the public to be that kind of that deep in? Because think about in the old days, you know, you like, you know, if I mean, tarred and feathered, you know, they did a lot of bad things to politicians in the old days because they knew how corrupt they were.
Well, they do need to be held accountable, that's for sure, and they've run riot now. These politicians,
totally.
it's, you know, they've taken it way too far.
Oh God,
And yeah, and in some ways though, I think because of the lack of reaction from the general public, because we've been so desensitized and apathetic to everything and so controllable, it's like, look guys, look what we can get away with. Oh my God, we're so stupid.
You
Well,
nailed it.
And then generations go past, and it's just they're just playing a role which has been almost carved out in relation to the general public. So it's like a you've seen those toys, not toys, but they're like pins machines, and they've got a flat plane, and then you put your face through, and then on the opposite side you see. So that's how I often see relationships: is you have the positive and negative impression, and I think it's the same way with how the government works. You know, as the public, we impress onto them how we want them to be, and they impress onto us how they want us to be. And because
Right.
we haven't reacted back in any way, or in a way that puts them in a place where we want them to be,
Right.
we are completely inverted as a
I hear you.
we've been completely inverted into what role we should be playing, you know, and
it normalizes like crime and these things. It normalizes their power over ours.
Yeah.
That, you know, that somehow we owe them something, and they don't serve us, but, you know, we serve them, and we have to bow to them. And that's the nature, I think, of politics in general. I mean, that's how I've come to see it or think of it now, is that, you know, like, I don't want to get too personal, but I have a certain relationship with someone in a position of power, and it's the situation. I came to this person for help, and now this person is behaving as if I owe him something, like I work for him. I'm like, fuck you, you know. I'm, pardon my language, but like, these people are sociopaths. They have some power, and they just want to lord it over you. They want to, you know, it's psychotic. And like, that's the problem, is that you just can't go about your life. You have to deal with these people. They're not even people, they're monsters, you know, in my view. Like, what the hell is this? I mean, a man's gonna have a baby soon. I'll throw him in jail for posting some stickers.
Yeah, make an example of him.
You're disgusting. You're a monster. You're a monster. Yeah. Not and beyond that, like, the cause itself. Like, how is it wrong for white people of England or Britain to say we don't want to be outpopulated in our own country? This is our country. What kind of insane, you know, madman is gonna think like, oh, that's wrong. You can't have that. You can't think that. You can't say that. You are the, you know, that person is the criminal, not you, not us.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, we're living under, like, lawlessness, literally lawlessness.
Yeah.
And so
well,
we have to stop
Sam
it.
essentially created a thought crime, didn't he? You know.
Yeah, if you want, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, but just to respond a little bit to the comment there, I would say go for it. You know, if you can figure out a way to do that, you know, go for it. So, you know, anything we can, any leverage we can get, we should try. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, whatever can be done, please do it. You know, and don't ask for permission. Just go do it. You know.
Do it. Well, obviously, within the law, frame of the law, saying do whatever you think it takes now to do something that is lawful. But then, what is lawful now?
I was just going to say
you didn't think stickers, putting on stickers were lawful. I mean, the amount of communist stickers I've seen at bus stops. Are you communist? Are you this and that? Here's a Facebook group that's probably still online, that's probably been given some kind of extra status. I mean, how is it okay to be a communist, which is responsible for in terms of a political regime, responsible for the most mass deaths ever?
I know. Hundreds of millions across the globe. You know, not just in the European countries.
Yeah.
That was one of my big lessons in life when I was an English teacher in Asia and in New York City, and primarily with the Chinese community. So many people with stories about surviving the Cultural Revolution, about the terrors of living under communism, and these are just common people that want to have families and, you know, live their damn lives like anybody. And to see what they went through is like mind-blowing. And now this is here. But, you know, nobody calls it that. Oh, you know, don't call it. It's progressive. No, it's communism. No, it's not that. You know, and this is how they can't exist by telling the truth. They must lie. They must put fake labels on things. They must, you know, men can be women, women can be men. What are your pronouns? You know, they live in a psychotic world of wackadoo, you know, where up is down, left is right, you know, good is bad. So sanity has to win. And that comes back to your question, what is lawful? Well, true law is, if you were to break the law, you were harming somebody. Who are you harming by saying, I want my country back? In a sticker in a park or something, or on a street
Well,
post.
it's essentially advocating against the globalist narrative, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean that's
yeah,
what's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
coming. And I've said before,
So,
I don't know, on Mark's stream, the gaming stream, and I must have said before here, but it's essentially hate speech is essentially opposition speech. Anything which
hmm
is
hmm
said in opposition to
hmm
the
hmm
globalist narrative is dubbed as
hmm
hate speech because
Yep,
it
yep.
contradicts, it goes against, and therefore it's regarded as hateful.
So a perfect example of that is the Marxist slogan that white silence is violence. Think about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
White silence is violence. If you don't speak up on my behalf as I take your country, you're being violent to me. Oh, poor me. Call the cops. Like get the hell out of here. Go back to your country. That shit is just so evil. And we've got to stand up against it again and again and again. The more we can, push
Well,
against this, the better. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I think it's a two-pronged thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like there are some people that, for example, a lot of the wars which we committed in the Middle East, they're the Middle East is completely destabilized.
Yeah.
And there's impoverished nations, for example, that want to suckle on the honey. They don't really know that what they're coming to is a dying civilization. It's like
Yeah.
in
Right.
trading. You buy in after a big green candle, and you're
Yeah.
like thinking, "Woohoo! I made it." Well,
Yeah.
actually, mate, we're about to get a stonking red candle of death, and
Yeah.
we are on the down.
Yeah.
So it's a bit late, mate, but they're there for the ride nonetheless. And
hmm
the what point was I making? Yeah, it's I forgot my train of thought now. Never mind.
Well, they're coming to countries that are failing and falling. Like this is what I say, that once the demographic that pays the taxes that give you your damn benefits is gone, then you're dead. You're done, because everything you came here to suck off of is now gone. So you can go back to Venezuela, you can go back to wherever the hell you came from, and but they're going to turn our countries into the third world. That's literally the goal. And so they're too stupid and low IQ to figure that out. No, I want to rape white women as long as I can. That's the goal.
Well, I think the politicians have obviously sold out. They're all about lining the pockets of the international globalist kind of corpse and that. And the real quote unquote philanthropists.
Philanthropists, yeah.
That really want to see positive change in the world, and are making these changes for our good. But yeah, we'll. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and
it really is. Yeah, it really is.
I'm still optimistic. Many things to be optimistic about. We just need to keep doing what we're doing, like we say, band together, maintain what's left of our culture, and shield wall, bunker down, and that's it.
Yeah.
And take whatever's thrown our way, and band together, and some of us will get chipped off, some of us will take injuries and be persecuted and sent down and such things like this. But we have to, if we, for the sake of people that stood and did nothing, the people that came before us, and even us growing up as children, I guess in some ways we can take responsibility, but for the lack of lack of action till now, we have to compensate for that and bridge that gap, and unfortunately it means that some people have to sacrifice. You know.
Yeah, it's like I say, I mean, that's where it would help us to have some sense of like military history and how things are playing out, to know where we are in that map, so to speak, you know, in that process, and then have a sense of, okay, well, you know, if this is happening, then we need to do X, and you know, if they do this, we do that kind of situation.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I am obviously I've got some rough color blocked in, and I've got my composition set. I'm in the week gonna go over these lines, refine them, make them nice and solid, and put the video out, and you know, share this, and hopefully people can I don't know, it's a tribute really to Sam.
It absolutely is. And
stream with Sam on
and his children, in fact.
Yeah, Sam and Laura, and why not capitalize on this and bring more attention to this injustice, and hopefully people can share this art, and that's what it's for, isn't it? Our art to essentially captures a moment in time,
right?
And that's what we've done here. We've tried to encapsulate a moment in history, recreated something, and you know, for people to see in 10, 20, 30 years, you know, if it's seen, it's like, what does this represent? Okay, this is what they were thinking and feeling at the time. You know, this is what they were going through.
And I would ask also that everyone in the chat, everyone who watches this show ever, to share it and to engage us in the conversation. Put some comments down there. What do you think? We're trying to figure out how to move forward. What strategies can we use? You know, what's the most positive way forward, essentially? You know?
Yeah,
indeed. Yeah,
brilliant. But, well, we're coming up to hour and 55 minutes, so is there anything else you want to say?
Well, I'll be out of Facebook jail on Thursday, so I'll be streaming again. I just want to send all my love to the family, and also to people like Mark Collette and you and everyone in the UK that is suffering through this. I'm with you. I'm your family. You know, I'm your cousin across the pond, and I love you dearly, dearly, dearly. I want to be free. I pray for our freedom, not only, of course, the UK, but everywhere in the Western world. So be strong. Always stay close to God through all of it. That's the only thing that we have to keep rooted in God and move forward. Be brave. Indeed.
Yeah, thoughts with Sam. Hopefully they'll see this, and Sam will get sent this. I'm not sure if he'll see mobiles, but anyway, you'll hear about this, no doubt, and so many other people and articles writing about him, and I think he'll feel proud and feel like his actions weren't in vain, which I don't think he would feel that really, but
I'm sure he would.
If he's doubting himself, it's like he knows the impact that he's had, and his actions are being really considered by people.
Sam, not all heroes wear capes. Okay, keep your chin up, buddy. We love you, man. We're grateful for you. We're grateful for men of your caliber. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. There will be a time-lapse video of this artwork coming out on my channel later on this weekend. Thanks to Donald for tuning in. As always, being the host of this show. He'll be out of YouTube prison again on Thursday. Is it? Yeah.
I hope my English accent doesn't get me kicked off the show.
And Irish, yeah. So yeah, there we have it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next Tuesday at the same time, 6 p.m. GMT. So